Okay, and welcome back to the CES International News Stage. My name's Joe from What Hi-Fi, and I'm here with Mark from Sony TV, who's going to tell us all about Sony's new TV announcements. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Joe. Appreciate it.
The Sony press conference is always one of the biggest events at any CES, and I think this year was pretty much no different. What were the key headlines for you guys in terms of the new Sony TVs?
Yeah, we had a good time last night, actually. Did you go?
I did, yes.
Pretty well received, I thought. So some really key highlights from us. A number of things, really. Picture quality. We're improving that with a new processor. We've got some stunning design now. You've probably seen the X90C television set. Just 4.9 millimeters thick, or is that thin? And also, as well, we've got Android TV as well. So some good stuff happening, yeah.
So how many ranges in total are we looking at for 2015?
So if we deal with 4K Ultra High Def, we're actually looking at 12 SKUs, really, 12 models, ranging from our entry X83 all the way up to X94. Yeah.
Okay. So 4K is obviously a huge talking point at the show this year. Is this year going to be the year that we really see it go mainstream? Obviously, we've been talking about it for a while, Sony have been talking about it for a while. There's still that hurdle, mainly of price, I think, and also of content. Are we going to see big changes that will help that go mainstream?
I think if we look at content, I think you're right. You know, people want to watch 4K. You're seeing more and more content coming through. Obviously, Netflix were there, as we know. You probably saw them at our press conference last night again. Other companies, Amazon, for example, have made their intentions known. In fact, Amazon 4K is now working on our TVs right now, actually, our 2014 range. It will be on our 2015 range. You've also got YouTube as well in 4K, which will support on the 2015 range. So content is coming through. And actually what's important for the customer is that whatever 4K they're watching looks fantastic picture quality. So to that end, we've introduced a new processor this year to deal with that. It's called the 4K Processor X1.
Right. So that's specifically for 4K content?
Yeah, specifically engineered for 4K content. What that will do is a number of things. It's quite clever, actually. It realizes what the 4K content is that's coming into the new TV set. And by that, I mean, you know, is it streaming content? Is it personal content you may have shot on your mobile phone or your handycam? And it knows the codec and the data rate. So the amount of information contained within, it's then able to adjust where needed. And it adjusts on 3 axes, really. We're talking about clarity, color, and contrast.
Right.
So this X1 processor uses our existing technologies and makes sure that they work together in harmony. So 4K Extra Reality Pro, Triluminous, Extended Dynamic Range. Right. It's kind of like the gatekeeper. Okay. Oversees what's coming in, makes sure whatever you're watching looks fantastic.
So is that going to work with SD and HD content as well?
That's a good question. As you probably know, we've got a great heritage of picture quality, and we've built upon that over the years. So yeah, the X1, although it has a new 4K database within there, specifically designed for that, as I said, it will, of course, give you excellent full HD, standard definition, in fact, whatever you're watching. So, you know, even yourself, VHS, I guess.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
And on that subject, what's the balance this year in terms of 4K TVs and non-4K? I mean, we used to talk about HD and non-HD. Obviously, pretty much every TV out there now is at minimum HD. But what's the balance between HD and 4K?
So in terms of our range for FY15, it's about 50-50, actually. Right. It's a pretty even split. Okay. And in terms of Sony Android TV, which I'm sure we'll come on to talk about.
Yeah.
Sony Android TV, every single one of our 4K models is a Sony Android TV.
Brilliant.
And so all but 3 of our full HD models as well. And
just one last point on 4K. You guys were one of the first companies actually to come out with a 4K media player. And also in the US, there was the 4K Unlimited service, I think it was called. Where are we with that? Are we going to be seeing more boxes, more 4K boxes? Is that streaming service still going to continue, or?
So certainly in the US, that's already established, as you mentioned. I think we're 2 iterations in now on our sort of video unlimited 4K service in terms of the box. For the European market, we're really looking to third parties, so people like Netflix, people like Amazon, to give us that streaming content coming through. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Moving on slightly, you mentioned Android. Obviously, Internet of Things is a massive buzzword at this year's show. In terms of internet-connected smart TVs. What's the big news for Sony this year? Clearly, it's the Android platform, I guess. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, all of our 4K models are Sony Android TVs, and all but 3 of our full HD models are. And Android TV really has some key benefits. Not least of all that it's kind of an accepted and understood operating system. You know, Android is by far the world's #1 operating system.
Yeah.
So most of the people here, I'm sure today, have got an Android phone or tablet. So they're used to that operating system. The other thing as well, though, is that it gives you the content that you want and allows you unique ways to find it. So we've got things like voice search. So you can pick up the remote control, our new one-touch remote control. You can pick that up. It's got a microphone built in, and you can ask it a simple question. So, for example, if I said Robert De Niro, it would give me a bit of a bio. The TV would actually speak to me as well and tell me who Robert De Niro was, just in case I didn't know.
Cool.
But it would also give me a list of films. Casino being one of them, actually. Set in Vegas.
Brilliant.
On top
You've
of
done
that,
this before.
I've not done this before. Thank you. I'll shake your hand for that. Cheers. So on top of that as well, it's got a few other features that are quite neat. You can also do voice command.
Right.
So you could tell it to turn the channel over. You could even tell it to turn the TV off as well. So voice is a nice way of, really interacting with your TV set. And we're supporting 42 languages as well from start.
Wow. So we've seen gesture and voice control on other interfaces. Is a lot of this change going to be behind the scenes, or is this going to be very obvious to consumers that it's a whole new Sony Android-powered interface?
It's going to be pretty obvious.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty obvious. But the nice thing about the user interface is that it's a very simple up-down, left-right mechanic. So, lots of services out there already use something like that. Netflix, for example, up-down, left-right. It's very easy. It's very intuitive. And talking about the mobile phone, the way that you can interact now, it's not just voice. We've got something called Google Cast built in. So all of our Android TVs are Google Cast ready. What this means is that you can be watching, for example, a clip on YouTube on your mobile phone as you walk into the house. You can tap the little Google Cast button, which is featured on over 200 apps now. And not only will it turn the TV on if it's off, but the video will then appear on the TV, and you can put the phone down. It's not the same as mirroring, so there's no battery drain on your mobile phone. You can keep using your mobile for something else.
So it's the next step of that sharing content from phones to tablets.
Absolutely.
So presumably Android makes that a hell of a lot easier.
It does, yeah.
But we're talking only on Android devices, presumably.
No. You can do it on iOS devices as well if you want to. Yeah.
That's brilliant. Moving on, you mentioned triluminous technology. Now we've heard a lot at the show already about quantum dot TVs. Is that something that's on Sony's radar? Because you guys actually came out with quantum dot TVs a couple of years ago. Didn't make quite such a song and dance about it. They seem to be back in vogue. Is that a TV technology that's going to be crucial for you guys?
So you're right to talk about triluminous. Of course, it's important for us in terms of colour. It gives us a very wide colour gamut for those rich, natural colours. Really brings things to life. In terms of quantum dot, you're correct. We used that in 2013 on a few of our TV sets then. And from last year on, actually, we developed a system in-house. So we're not using quantum dot anymore.
Right.
But the system we've developed gives us a wide colour gamut, gives us the benefits, and still fits under that triluminous branding. Plus, as well, because we've worked on it ourselves, it works very well with that X1 processor I talked about in terms of that, working together in harmony to give you the best picture quality. Okay. And remember, one final thing, having a wide colour gamut isn't the be-all and end-all. It's about how you manage that. You can have a wide array of paints, for example. I could give them to you. I'm sure you're an accomplished artist. You do a fantastic picture. Give it to me. I'm not very good. And my painting wouldn't be as good as yours.
So you're more concerned with the processor and how that technology is working with your panel or technology? Okay.
Absolutely.
Another technology which we haven't heard about from you guys is OLED. Can you give us a bit of an update on that? I mean, there's a huge amount of interest in the specialist market in OLED TV, and yet we're not really seeing the TVs come to market. Any insight on why that is or whether that will change?
I mean, as you know, probably Sony bought the first OLED to market a few years ago with the XEL1.
The
tiny little one, yeah. So, we've been involved in OLED for a number of years, and we're still looking into OLED as a technology, but we're concentrating on LED, LCD television sets, and 4K in particular. we feel now at a point at Sony where we're able to deliver the customer the very best picture quality using that technology. I mentioned the X1 processor, of course. So that's where we are right now. So yes, we're looking at it, but right now we're focusing on LED LCD.
No immediate plans, okay. Another headline I saw, I admit I haven't seen the TV in the flesh, was the floating TV design. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so that's the X90C, stunning television set. So if any of the people here haven't yet been over and seen our booth, please do get to see it. It's an incredible 4.9 millimeters thick or thin. And it does look like it's floating on your wall. It just blends in with your environment.
So that's to do with the design of the frame and the
stand? Yeah, we're using something in-house. It's a very special, tailored design that we've come up with ourselves. And we've able to make it incredibly slim as a result. We've also re-engineered the heating ducts. I always like to do an interview and mention heating ducts.
Always get them in.
And that allows it to actually sit flush against the wall when you wall mount it. On a conventional TV, normally the heat comes away out the back. Here, the heat comes actually from the top of the TV set, so you can put it flush against the wall. Absolutely superb. You really, really need to see it.
Brilliant. And we haven't mentioned audio for TVs. Sony made a big kind of push last couple of years to really improve the sound quality from the TV. Is that going to continue? Are we going to see more advancements there?
I think all of us realise that, picture quality is fantastic. Of course, it's very important, but it's really 50% of the story. If you want to get truly immersed in the action, whatever you're watching, sound's important. So you're right. We've made some strides in that area. If you remember our 84-inch 4K a few years back, that had side-mounted front-facing speakers, greater separation of sound. We introduced magnetic fluid speaker in 2013. For this year, we're actually bringing high-res audio to television. Okay. So our X9 III and X9 4C TV sets, they have high-res audio capability. We've done that by making sure we've given it a tweeter that can deliver those high frequencies. And you can play back high-res files. You can do it via USB, up to 9624.
Wow.
Or you can do it over DLNA over your home network as well. But more than that, we realised that the majority of people buy a TV to watch TV. So we've made sure that we've incorporated something called DSEEHX. Bit of a mouthful.
Got it.
What it means, though, is that we can upscale any of the audio that actually you play, and more importantly, that you watch.
So that's similar to on the new Walkman, I think.
Yes, actually, it's technology we've borrowed from our Walkman and also from our high-res audio products that we launched last year. But seriously, I know you're a big fan of Dad's Army, for example.
Of course.
So and the BBC do
you know
persist.
so much about me, I didn't realise.
Well, it's true.
Done your research. I wish I'd done the same.
Don't tell him your name, Pike. Yeah.
Sorry.
But you could be watching that, and it would upscale that audio. And so you're giving you great picture quality, but we're also giving you great audio as well, up to near high-res quality, whatever you're watching.
So better pictures, better sound, that's the Sony TV story?
Better picture, better sound, better user interface, better design, yeah.
Brilliant. Mark, thank you very much.
Thanks very much for having me, appreciate it.
Cheers. We'll be back with more news from around the show on the CES International News Stage.